Okay, Va'ata Tetzaveh is Dalid. We learned already a few lines. Okay, now the Rebbe is explaining that what's the definition of Moshe Rabbeinu Raya Mehemne? Because the Rebbe is explaining that Va'ata Tetzaveh Moshe Rabbeinu connects the Yidden to Hashem, and through this Moshe Rabbeinu becomes greater. Moshe Rabbeinu becomes greater, and he says that the Moshe Rabbeinu is the head, the rest of Klal Yisrael is the feet. If the head wants to go somewhere, it's the feet that takes him there. So he says, to understand this, we need to understand the definition of Raya Mehemne. The Moshe Rabbeinu is Raya Mehemne, which there's two interpretations. One is, he's a faithful shepherd, and a shepherd of faith. Meaning, every Yid has a munah, but it's what's called the Neifin of Makif. It only affects the person indirectly. And the job of Moshe Rabbeinu is to bring down this level of Amunah internally. He said, like Mordechai in his times, they had to have Mesiras Nefesh for Torah mitzvahs, and therefore Mordechai was, like it says in the Medrash, Mordechai was like Moshe Rabbeinu b'Dayrei, and therefore Moshe Rabbeinu did. But he says that by Mordechai was through the level of Mesiras Nefesh. Okay? So through the level of Kosis, being tortured, meaning Mesiras Nefesh, you come to the level of Mar. So then he starts explaining in his Dalid that that's what it says, that the Eden accepted willingly what they were given at the time of Matan Torah. But Matan Torah it said Nasav and Ishma, like it says Kimu v'Kiblu Yehudim, Kimu Mashi Kiblu Kfar. Like we learned, the Gemara says that the Matan Torah they were, so to speak, forced to accept Torah because Kafalem Harke Gigis, so he said Nasav and Ishma they were forced, but then days of Mordechai, the Gemara says they accepted it willingly. So he says like 8 lines into the paragraph. Umedai by Maamar, the Rebbe asks in the Maamar, L'cheiru Dvar Pella. It's a wondrous thing. Meaning, and like the Rebbe explains in a different place, Pella means it's not stam a miracle. There's Nisim and Niflois. Nisim are miracles. Niflois means wondrous that they don't even make sense. So it's a Dvar Pella. By Matan Torah, B'tachas Ha'ilui. By Matan Torah, the Yidden were on the highest of levels. By Matan Torah, the Yidden were on the highest possible level. And he says, the Neisiv Lazeh, Shegam Kedem HaTorah Giluim Nayin B'Yesed, even though before Matan Torah, forget Matan Torah, even before Matan Torah, there were unbelievable revelations of Hashem. They had Yitzias Mitzrayim, Befrat Kriyas Yamsuf, Hine Gagili Shoyim B'Shas Matan Torah Gili Naila Yosef. Like we learned many times, it says the greatest revelation of Elokus until the coming of Mashiach was Matan Torah. So l'chayra, by Matan Torah, the Eden were on a super, super high level. Ubimeach HaShveidish, and yet, on the opposite side, in the days of Achashverosh, Shoyu Yisrael B'Tachlis HaYerida, the Jews were ultimately low level. The Neis of Lahel and Vehester Shebachol Golus. In addition to the normal concealment, the Eden were in Golus in the times of Mordechai, right? So in addition to the aspect of every Golus is concealment, Chol Golus, he bedugmas Golus Mitzrayim, every Golus is similar to the original Golus of Mitzrayim, that Kamei Sheba Golus Mitzrayim. Just like by Golus Mitzrayim, it says, they didn't even listen to Moshe Rabbeinu when he came to tell them they're going out of Mitzrayim. So it says, from this short breath and our hard work, so really every golus is a concealment of godliness. In a Oz, yet even by Purim it's even more than that. Every golus is a concealment of Elokus. That's why it's called golus. But this man, some in the time of Haman, it was a bigger. There was a decree against all the Jews. It was a terrible time. So l'chayra, by Matan Torah, the Eden were on the highest of levels. By Purim, l'chayra, the Eden were on the lowest of levels. Afo became. Nevertheless, what do we see? Bisman Matan Torah. At the time of Matan Torah, Shoyu Yisrael B'Tachlis HaIlu, when the Jews were on the highest of levels, it was only beginning. They only began to do. Yet, Bisman Gzeira Haman, okay, in the time of the Gzeira of Haman, Kshayu B'Tachlis HaShiflus, as dafke kiblu mashechel b'matan Torah. L'chayra, how is it possible that Purim did something that Matan Torah didn't do? Matan Torah, the Jews only accepted it. When did they start doing it willingly? At the time of Purim. L'chayra, Matan Torah on a lofty level, and Purim on a low level. How could that be? And the Friedrich Rebbe explains in the Maamar, the Bisman Agzeira Hoyakim Atayrim Mitzvah Shalahem B'Mesiras Nefesh. What happened, uniqueness of time of Golus, especially time of Purim, was the Yidden kept Torah Mitzvah with Mesiras Nefesh. Okay? The Neisef Lazeh, in addition to the normal thing, Shahayo Lahem Mesiras Nefesh Shalelich Berchas V'Shalom. By Purim, the Jews have Mesiras Nefesh just by the fact of not denying the existence of Hashem. Like the Alter Rebbe explained, which is a big chiddush of the Alter Rebbe, you should know. It says, Shebehim ayu mamirim dasan, if the Jews wouldn't have, God forbid, they would have given up Yiddishkeit, lo haya eisim lam klum, nothing would have happened to the Jews in the days of Purim. Normally, everybody says, Chanukah was a decree against the neshama of the Jew. Purim was a decree against the body of the Jew. Didn't matter who you were. But the Alter Rebbe says in Torah that if the Yidden, God forbid, would have denied Elokus, they wouldn't have had the Gzeira. Why? And he says, because the Gzeira was only on Yehudim. What is a Yehudi? Kaifer b'aveda zara made of b'chol Torah kula. So in other words, if the Jews, God forbid, would have denied Torah mitzvahs, the Gzeira wouldn't have happened. What was the Mesiras Nefesh of the Jews? They all say that it never entered their mind, God forbid, a foreign thought. So therefore, like this, in the days of Purim, the Eden had an unbelievable Mesiras Nefesh for Torah mitzvahs. But to the extent, she'ekilu kilas b'rabno Torah Mesiras Nefesh, the Moshe Rabbeinu, Mordechai, the Moshe Rabbeinu of his generation, gathered together and learned, as the Rebbe writes in the heart at the bottom, that's even a bigger chiddush. So therefore he says, look at me like that. What's the Mesiras Nefesh of Purim? What's the uniqueness of Purim over Matan Torah? By Matan Torah, they were on a lofty level, but there was no Mesiras Nefesh. Purim, because they were on a low level, they had an unbelievable Mesiras Nefesh for Torah mitzvahs. Who awakened the level of Mesiras Nefesh by all the Yidden was Mordechai HaYehudi, Moshe B'Deireh. And this is what it says, the Yidden accepted. But Matan Torah, he said, Matan Torah was only the beginning. Why was it only the beginning? Because there was no Mesiras Nefesh. Ubizman Gzeiras Haman. Yet at the time of the Gzeira of Haman, Haise Kabbalah, with the actual acceptance and fulfilling it willingly, Kaidesh, Kaidesh Elohem, Oz Mesiras Nefesh, Bepel Torah Mitzvahs. Through the level of Mesiras Nefesh, and the Rebbe writes like this, Nis'alu be'inyan zeh, in this aspect, because obviously, by Matan Torah, the Yidden went on a greater level. Right? Mamash tzaddikim, a fresh level. Nevertheless, in one aspect of Mesiras Nefesh, they were much greater at the time of Purim. They reached l'mayla nailus yesed. They reached to a higher level mikamei shahaya bizman Matan Torah than it was at the time of Matan Torah. L'cheinos dafka yisek kabbalah v'kibbala. Okay, so the Rebbe brings down what the Friedrich Rebbe asks. How is it possible that Purim did more than Matan Torah did? And the answer is because Purim had Mesiras Nefesh and Matan Torah did.
But the neshamas didn't fly out. By Matan Torah, the neshamas flew out. So that's a big...
Hashem doesn't want the neshamas out of the body. Hashem wants the neshamas in the body. Mesiras Nefesh doesn't mean jumping off a roof, killing yourself. Mesiras Nefesh means being alive and giving up what you want for the sake of Hashem. The ultimate Mesiras Nefesh is not killing yourself. Like the Mefarshim explained, the 10th test of Avram Avinu was the Akedah. Right. Okay, bringing up Yitzchak. Yitzchak was 37 years old at the time of the Akedah. Right. Yeah? Now tell me, whose Mesiras Nefesh is? Avram or the Yitzchak's? Yitzchak is getting killed. Now a little baby doesn't know what's going on. Yeah? So why is it called, well, the Kim Nisas Avram, God is testing Avram. It's the test of Yitzchak. Yitzchak was giving up his life, not Avram. So Chassidus explains that it's harder to live like a Jew than to die like a Jew. For Yitzchak, it meant dying once and finished. Avraham Avinu had to live with the aspect that he killed his son. That's a greater Mesiras Nefesh. It's a greater Mesiras Nefesh to live like a Jew than to die like a Jew. It's just a greater level of Mesiras Nefesh.
What it says, Rachel Aleinu. When all the Abbas says, I was willing to...
Yes, correct. What?
He's saying that because they had Mesiras Nefesh, so they reached a higher level.
The matan, in that respect.
In that respect, but don't you have to have the Amina come inside of you, you reach a high level, and then you're able to have Mesiras Nefesh?
No.
Why is it Dafka
simple? Dafka the feet have Mesiras Nefesh, not the head.
Why is that?
Because Seichel gets in the way of Mesiras Nefesh. Because Mesiras Nefesh is completely illogical. That's why there's no reason in Torah for Mesiras Nefesh that I ever explained. Bottom line is that Mesiras Nefesh is not logical. So if anything, logic contradicts the concept of Mesiras Nefesh. The marshal given is if Hashem would tell the head, so to speak, Hashem would call up the head and say, okay, I want you to go into boiling hot water. The head is intellect, yeah? The head will start thinking. Maybe it means somebody else. Maybe it means I should cool off the water first. Maybe. Hashem says to the foot, it's brainless, go into hot water. The foot doesn't know any chachmas. He jumped into the hot water. Seichel contradicts Mesiras Nefesh. So because by Matan Torah they were on such a lofty level of seeing Elokus, Zeh Keli Van Veil, and Hashem went over Mitzrayim, yeah. The Eden saw such great levels of Elokus. That contradicts Mesiras Nefesh. Dafka our generation, and that's why it says in last week's part, 2 weeks ago, it says in the Zayar, he was most humble. He said in Zayar when he saw the generation right before Mashiach. That's when Moshe Rabbeinu felt the most inferior, because in his time they saw all the miracles. He looked at our generation, no miracles, darkness, tzaddis, only have its problems, and yet the Eden keep turning mitzvahs. Okay, weiter.
When you talk about Purim, is it after the event or before the event?
That's what the Rebbe is going to talk about soon. The Rebbe asked that question. This whole thing was after the Mesiras Nefesh was over. Okay, so I'm going to talk about it. Well, you could say, Shapirish Kosses Lamor. I think he wants to get in, sir. The phone's ringing. Shapirish Bekosses Lamor. The Pirish of Kosses is Shaidei Kosses Nishba Venitka. By being broken and depressed, Magian Lamor. So he says like this. Now, the Rebbe explained that through Mesiras Nefesh, you come not only to Or, but to Ma'or, to the source of light. So he says, L'chayre, that's bir, al zeh shebizman ha'gzera dafke, bol Mesiras Nefesh be'fanai l'yosef. Seemingly explains, how did the Yidden and Purim come to such a high level of finalizing Matan Torah? Through the level of Kosev Mesiras Nefesh. Ki Mesiras Nefesh mitzad etzem and neshama. Shelamayla miagilui mod, because Mesiras Nefesh comes from the essence, which is a level of mod. By day shayos b'masad dekosis nishbe v'nitke nitzgala etzem hashama mod. So he said, the Rebbe says seemingly, the Rebbe is going to ask a question on the Friedrich Rebbe's Maamar. Seemingly, it seems that what the Friedrich Rebbe is saying is through the level of Mesiras Nefesh of kosis, he come to mod. Right? That's what he.
What does kosis mean?
Pressed, like you're squeezing the olive. Avol mehem shech v'seider in yonim ba'maimer, but l'chayra, that's what it simply means. But the Rebbe says from the sequence of the Maamar, that's not what it means. Seider in yonim shapirish kosis l'mor bo la'achri in d'ray mehemna. He says in the Maamar, the Friedrich Rebbe explains what a raya mehemna is, right? Internalizing the emunah. And then based on that, he says kasis. Yeah? Which implies that through the raya mehemna, you become kasis. Not the level of Mesiras Nefesh. Mashma, the inyan kasis lemor, is also shayach connected. Kam lezeh, shemesha, zon umefanis esamuna shedei pepnimius. But from the Maamar it implies that it's not Mesiras Nefesh that does it. It's through Moshe Rabbeinu internalizing the Amunah causes the Mesiras Nefesh to make kasis. So he said, "Yesh levayir zeh al pi hayidua." He says, "Wait, now we can explain what this means based on what's known." This that yidna maminim b'nei maminim. Right? They believe in Hashem with simple faith. They don't even need a proof. In mitzat shnei time, and there's two reasons. Okay, now this is basically coming to what the Maamar is trying to, we're bringing out. He says there's two reasons why a Jew has emunah. One reason is number one, the fisha mazlayo chazi, because yes, the neshama in the body doesn't feel elokus, but the mazel of the neshama does feel elokus l'mayla. The neshama l'mayla roya elokus. The neshama meaning not the level of the neshama that's in the body, nefesh ruach neshama, but the level of the mazel, which the Rebbe is going to explain, means the chaya level of the neshama sees elokus. Riyah shalamayla me'aseichel. Because the neshama that's out of the body feels elokus, because it's not restricted so much by the body. So that level, because it sees elokus, causes that the neshama that's in the body believes in it and it has amunah. And another explanation, though, is a much deeper explanation. The shade is shamuna me'etzem and neshama. It comes from the level of yechida, not chaya. Mazel, by the way, is the level of chaya of the neshama. The emuna comes from the level of yechida, which is higher than mazlayo chazi, meaning this that the essence of the neshama is connected to Hashem. He is kashris atzmis, is an essential bond. Sheina tuluya besiba, which is not dependent on a reason, not even the level of riyah shalamayla meyasech. Let me simplify it very simply. There's one level of amunah that comes because of a reason. The neshama sees elokus, the neshama sees elokus. That causes the neshama in the body to feel elokus, amunah. So there's a different reason. Because the neshama is elokus. It's not because the neshama sees elokus, because the essence, the yechidah shebenefesh, is in every aspect of the neshama. The Rebbe explains in Kuntis Yinon Shel Torah Chassidus. Yeah, what's the mile of oil? What's the uniqueness of oil? It's above everything, yet it makes everything oily. It makes everything oily. So he says, the level of amunah, in the lower level of amunah, is the neshama sees elokus, the mila, so therefore the neshama in the body feels elokus. So no, there's a deeper level of it. You know why the neshama believes? Because the neshama is elokus. It is God. If it's God, I don't need a reason to believe in God if I am God. That's what I am.
That's 24/7, or every once in a blue moon together?
It's 24/7. The question that you were aware of it.
You reveal it, right?
That's what awareness means, sir. No. That level of Mesiras Nefesh is not logical.
But the emunah comes.
Let's see what he said. What's the difference? What's the difference between these two levels of amunah? If it's because of a reason that the neshama sees elokus, or because the neshama is elokus, that level of amunah of the neshama in the body, that comes from the level of above, is the level of makif. It's in a superficial level. He says, Kiven shaneshama l'mayla, hima l'mayla mi'eslapshus. Because again, what's the cause of emunah? The level of the neshama, which is higher than seichel. So that's higher than me. It's not internalized, it's external. It's superficial. L'chein pulasa b'neshama l'bashes beguf is also makif. Because there's an external, superficial level, makif level, that's causing me to have emunah. But that's very all superficial. But in order to internalize it, he says what? What does that mean? What can we just explain? Etzem haneshama, the yechida, the essence of the neshama, is the etzem of the neshama mulbeshes beguf. It's the essence of the neshama in the body. So yechida is the neshama in the body also, because it's the essence of every level of the neshama. Lochein hamun adan neshama mulbeshes beguf shemitzad etzem and neshama. Therefore, this emunah that comes because the neshama is a lukus is not coming from an external level. The neshama above sees a lukus, so therefore it influences me to, to have a. It's not. Shemitzad etzem, he then is bepnimius. What?
It is.
It is. But it's interesting because the Rebbe for the rest of the Maamar is going to explain different levels of Mesiras Nefesh that causes this causes to be revealed. And the ultimate Mesiras Nefesh the Rebbe is going to explain is complacency and gullus, which is now. When the Jews suffered in gullus, they hated gullus. Jews today, it's beautiful here. It's a great... I don't want Mashiach to come. I'm going to have to move to some hut in Israel, you know what I mean? It's a machaya here. So he says, now we can understand the sequence of the Maamar. Because the level of causes comes from Moshe Rabbeinu. Because like this, what are we saying? The ultimate goal is to have emunah, not the makif emunah, but the essence of emunah, right? Who reveals that level within the Jew? Through the raya mehemna. Shemogala etzem and neshama shelamayl mazlei chazi magiel more lemayla mi'or. So he says like this. First, you have to understand what the level of... He says like this. The Rebbe asked the question, why do I need to understand Raya Mehemna, what the Rebbe does? Why didn't you just explain? Because it's Mesiras Nefesh causes Ma'or. He says, because Ma'or, that level of causes, in order to reveal the essence of the Neshama, Moshe Rabbeinu has to do that. Raya Mehemna internalizes the Emunah, because Moshe Rabbeinu, because he's the Yechida of Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu is the Yechida of Klal Yisrael. So therefore he reveals the Yechida within every single Jew. Like we said many, many times, we know that a Chassid goes into the Rebbe for a private audience is called Yechidus. Okay? So if you want to speak Hebrew, the reason why it's Yechidus means a private. Right? Private. So you go into that, but private audience is called Yechidus. Chassidim used to explain it much deeper. Yechidus is the plural of Yechida. By a Rebbe, his Yechidus Shebenefesh is always revealed, 24/7. Revealed. When a Chassid makes proper preparation, not high Rabbi, I'm here, but like we learned 10 years, and then another, all the Chassidim used to prepare themselves for the Rebbe for years and years and years. And then when you go into the Rebbe, so the Rebbe reveals your Yechida Shebenefesh. So what happens in a private audience with the Rebbe is his Yechida is revealing your Yechida, so it becomes a Chidus. It's a meeting of two Yechidas. But he says in order to have Kosis, who is able to think the Kosis is the Rebbe, the Raya Mehemna that reveals that level. I said many times, from Sydney, your hometown over there. the Hasofers, when the whole story how they became from, they davened to Hashem to send somebody there, and the Rebbe called up Rabbi Chaim Gutnik, and the Rebbe said, oh, so he told the story many times. So when the lady would tell over the story, remember them?
Sure.
I remember them. When they would tell over the story, the lady would tell the story like this. What is it, Rebbe? That when a Jew krechts, a Jew sighs in Australia, the Rebbe feels it. That's the... And Rebbe Yael told us the story. Rebbe Yael said she made a mistake. She got it wrong. It's not that a Rebbe is that the lady, sighed in Australia. The Rebbe felt it. He said no. Why did the woman sigh in Australia? Because the Rebbe thought about it. A Rebbe is not one that the Jew cries. The Rebbe feels it. Why does the Jew cry? Because the Rebbe revealed the Yechid and the Jew. So it's a ganz. It's similar to the point Chassidim say when you learn a Maamar, or you can't say lahavdil between Jews. What's the difference between a Rebbe saying a Maamar or a Chassid learning a Maamar? A Chassid learning a Maamar means seichel is understanding godliness. Seichel is understanding godliness. A Rebbe saying a Maamar is elukus becomes seichel. It's not seichel understanding elukus. A Maamar, when the Rebbe says a Maamar, it's godliness coming down into seichel. I mean, it's the same type of idea. It's not the same thing, obviously. But that's the difference. That's what the Rebbe is explaining here. Through Raya Mehemna, through a Rebbe internalizing the Emunah, the shepherd of Emunah, the Rebbe internalizing the Emunah, that reveals the deeper level of Emunah within every single Jew. That the level of Emunah comes from Yechida, like the Friedrich Rebbe said, what's Mesiras Nefesh? Azei unit anders. The Friedrich Rebbe said, what's the definition of Mesiras? This is the way it's going to be and no different. There's no logic, there's no understanding. This is it. There's no questions asked, because questions aren't going to change anything. Why? So it says, why is Klippa? A person says, why? That's Klippa. What do you mean, why? That's the way it is. There's no whys. So the Rebbe says that's the sequence of the Maamar. The Friedrich Rebbe first explains what Raya Mehemna is. And then, that's why he explains the two levels of Emunah. Because there's a level of Emunah that comes from Mazlaya Chazid, the Neshama L'mayla sees a Lokus. So that's an external, superficial, indirect level of effect of Emunah. And then you come to a deeper level that the Rebbe reveals in the person, he reveals your Neshama that it is Elokus. And that Emunah is the essence of Emunah. That comes from Kasis.